Well, Jason Falinski is a federal Liberal MP from Sydney's Northern Beaches, always a strong supporter of the outgoing New South Wales Premier. He joins us right now. Jason, thanks for your time.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me.
I'm having trouble working out what the worst case scenario is for Gladys Berejiklian and whether that constitutes a high level of corruption. Are you frustrated about what unravelled today?
Chris, I'm beyond frustrated because what we have here is the crucible being played out in real life. What we have here today is a free and fair society being unravelled by an extrajudicial body that is able to find people guilty by inference before it has been able to put a single piece of evidence in front of everyone. Graham Richardson was on this channel earlier today saying, isn't this funny? This was a body that was designed to get me and it's got 3 Liberal premiers instead, or every Liberal inside. This is appalling what has occurred today. Anyone who believes in free, fair and just society has seen that undermined this morning.
Were you surprised that she took the option of resigning as opposed to standing down?
Well, I think the political realities of this situation are that ICAC has shown itself over and over again that it will use every single publicity trick in the book to make the lives of innocent people as difficult as they possibly can. And she made the rational decision that she couldn't possibly do that in the high-profile position of being Premier. But let's be very clear here. ICAC, once again, through inference, has found someone guilty before they've even had a chance to demonstrate their innocence.
I'm just thinking about timing and the responsibility that even ICAC might have to ensure that the regular and continuous leadership of the state is maintained. Do you think the timing couldn't be worse?
The timing couldn't be worse at any time. Injustice, there is no good time for injustice. So that's what we've had here. I mean, I think you put it very well in your introduction, which was pretty plain and simple, which is at the worst of it, this is to say that Gladys Berejiklian, while in a relationship with another man, did not seek to undertake further investigations to determine whether he was undertaking behaviour that may have been corrupt under the ICAC Act. That is, at the height of it, what she did wrong. Furthermore, while having a relationship with him, she made other decisions which benefited the people of his electorate. I mean, that is, frankly put, an absurd level to judge people in public life on their corruption, because all of us have conflicts of interest which we need to manage. I may make decisions in the Parliament that in a way will have an impact on interest rates while having a mortgage. Does that mean I'm conflicted? Of course, but that's not a material conflict. And I think the Independent Commission Against Corruption today has truly jumped the shark.
I get the feeling that this decision today will also upset so many people in the state of New South Wales. What kind of reaction have you got from your constituents?
Well, they have been confused, numb, outraged. They don't quite understand how this could happen. They don't believe that we live in a country where innocent people can be treated like this. I mean, let's just keep this in mind, Chris. The former Commissioner of ICAC, Megan Latham, once described public hearings as like pulling wings off butterflies, but just a lot more fun. And what ICAC was offering the Premier of New South Wales today is 10 days of having wings pulled off, but it not being fun. We've had a commission that has been found to exceed its power, not by me, not by you, not by public opinion, but by the High Court of Australia, by the New South Wales Appeals Court, by the Supreme Court of Australia, by its own Inspector General. So bad was it that Mike Baird had to, in one of, I think, his worst decisions in public life, had to pass a thing called the Validation Act, which retrospectively made some of its actions of the Independent Commission Against Corruption valid. When it had to appear with the Oversight Committee of the New South Wales Upper House, it refused to hand over 16 documents of letters that it exchanged with Mike Baird over that process. So here we have a Commission Against Corruption keeping from the public its own correspondence with the Premier. And we saw a taste of that only last year, where they made implied threats to the Parliament of New South Wales that if they didn't get a budget increase, they would make their life difficult. That's not a commission against corruption. that is a commission that is out of control. And it is, I think, time that a whole bunch of people need to actually start to hold this commission to account.
We're going to hear from October 18 a lot about that reply that she gave on that phone tap. I don't need to know that bit. What do you construe that to mean?
I have no idea what was in the Premier's head at that time. But what I do know is that we have a presumption of innocence. So if the Independent Commission Against Corruption, and by the way, Chris, no one under an investigation from ICAC has ever been convicted of corruption at ICAC. There have been other convictions arising from ICAC investigations, such as maladministration and lying to ICAC, but no, they have never gathered enough evidence to have someone convicted of corruption. So I don't know what was in the Premier's mind when she said that, but she is entitled, as all of us are, to a presumption of innocence. But what is going on today is that ICAC has made an allegation of corruption without providing any evidence or proof thereof, and is now saying that it will subject the Premier to 10 days of public hearings, which others have compared to a show trial.
The rumours about her being a person of interest started to leak out from September 12. Should there be an investigation into that? Who's telling who what from ICAC?
Chris, Chris Merritt has done an incredibly good job of this over the years, where he has pointed out the leaks between senior journalists at the Sydney Morning Herald, at the Australian, at the Daily Telegraph, and at other television stations between ICAC and those journalists, who are then meant to keep the Commission Against Corruption, hold them to account with their extraordinary powers. But of course, once they're on the drip, it becomes incredibly difficult. If we want to talk about conflicts of interest, there's a massive conflict of interest, which no one in the Parliament has undertaken, because no one wants to take on those very same journalists and let's call it a special relationship that they clearly have with people at the Independent Commission Against Corruption.
Jason Falinski, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Chris. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.